Howdy folks, it's Adriel the Hunting Gear Guy, and this is the Bushnell Legend T-Series spotting scope. It's a tactical spotting scope. It's got the most interesting part is that the reticle on it is got mills on it, so there's a mill reticle in there. It's not just a plain looky-loo kind of a thing. And it's pretty compact, so it's a pretty compact little spotting scope, straight look through. It's a 15 to 45 by 60, which is pretty reasonable. And the price was reasonable, so I thought I'd pick one up and try it out. So it's got some really cool features on it. Why don't we take a closer look at this spotting scope? I'm sorry, I know that probably looked pretty impractical in terms of like how unwieldy this thing is, but don't worry, I've got a tripod mount for it right here. There we go. Now this is actually a practical setup. Now that it's got on a tripod, I'm able to traverse with it fairly easily, and it's steady enough to actually look through. So now this thing's finally practical. So looking at this spotting scope from the side, we can see that we've got most of our controls right here. There's no controls over here. There's nothing on here. So it packs them in pretty bad. That's probably my biggest complaint, is just the controls being packed all along the side here. The first one, closest to the spotting scope, is the magnification settings. So all the way to the right is 45, all the way to the left is 15. Next up, we have our focus. So this focuses the whole spotting scope. Then we have reticle focus. So there's our reticle focus there. And then finally we have a twist out eye cup. So 1, 2, 3, 4 controls all on the same plane, all doing the same thing. This is pretty complicated. This is kind of like one of those a new car that you get, and there's the steering and the windshield wiper and all sorts of things all on the same stock. So pretty complicated. You can get used to it. I would say that my biggest complaint is that the focus ring on it is quite stiff. So you can feel that there. Well, you can't feel. I can feel it there. It's quite a stiff focus ring. The magnification is absolutely fine, but that focus ring is stiff, and it's hard to like nail the focus with it just because it is so stiff, and it doesn't really want to move very easily. The reticle focus, I set it once and then I forget it. And I typically do use the twist up eye cups. If you're wearing safety glasses, you can twist them all the way in. Without safety glasses, I find that they're great just like that. So that's very easy for me to just stick my face on and see it very clearly. One thing to mention, just I'm looking through here, the reticle itself has mill hashes on it, and it's kind of like a cross almost, kind of like a big T, and I'll show a picture of that here just so you can see what that is. The advantage there is if you're shooting with a bunch of buddies and they're all on the mill system in terms of their scopes, and you see an impact with this, you can say 2 mils left or whatever the correction needs to be, which does make it easier for people to be able to know what to do with their scope or know where to hold with their rifle. All right, let's talk about the case and what this thing comes with. So this is the case that it comes with. This feels like the cheapest, shittiest one they could have possibly put out with this thing. It's just incredibly cheap feeling. It feels like this is their MVP product. So yeah, a little Velcro strap there holding it on. That holds it open. We've got a scope cap in there, and it's got a hole in it for a string or something, but I don't see anywhere to affix that scope cap anywhere on this case. So I don't know if that's an oversight. And then to get access to our back eye cup, we gotta fold these guys out. They got a little bit of Velcro there, and that kind of, oh, can't have that there. That sticks over here, and that sticks over here, and that's kind of how it sits. I mean, it is like a little bit padded, but this feels awful. This case feels terrible, and it looks like they really cheaped out on it. In terms of this thing, I mean, you can loop it up on this side here, and I guess if you really wanted to, you could take your eye cups and put them in that strap there, but like, ugh. Doesn't feel good. Like, that's not the best. Typically, though, when I have this out of the range, I do have it in this case because I want to kind of chuck it in my range bag and just not care about it too much. Oh, there goes the caps. And I usually stick it on this tiny little tripod here. Reason being, this tiny little tripod can just sit on the bench next to me and be used to very easily see my hits. So on there, it's very strong, and I can use it to watch my hits or watch my buddy's hits. It is a little bit easier, like if you're on the same bench that you're shooting off of. If your buddy's on the same bench, that's going to shake, and it's still going to be hard to see through here. Separate bench though, no problem to be able to see through. And at this height, it's actually not too bad for prone. I know with a lot of the angled ones, you got to get it really low to see it from prone, or you turn it sideways, which is also a decent trick. But with this tripod on here is perfect for me for prone. I would say that for the bench, you do end up like bending down quite a bit to like look through there to see through it on the bench. So that is one downside to a straight through like this, but you just get used to it. Now you can get used to it, or the other thing you can do is get yourself a phone scope or phone scope knockoff and stick your phone in there, which I think is probably the best thing to do. This is like super clutch for just being able to kind of see what's going on without having to really get off the gun. If so, I like to line up my camera there, and then you just stick that guy on there, and then, well, if you tighten it down, and then you've just got your phone acting as your spotting scope. Really nice for getting footage. Really nice for seeing in your footage which shot went where. Because sometimes you'd be like, oh, I think I pulled that shot. No, you didn't pull that shot. You thought you pulled it left, and it actually went up. It might have been something with the gun or something like that. So it is nice to be able to record your shots and see what's happening with them. And at long range, you can also catch the vapor trails of the bullets going down range very easily, because with this amount of magnification and the amount of clarity, it's doable. So how does the glass compare on it? It's good enough for the price. So keep in mind, these things are right around 450 bucks. That's I think what I paid, and I would say the glass is good enough at that price. At the lower price points, spotting scopes just aren't good enough to bother to use. Like if you spend $200 or $300 on a spotting scope, a decent rifle scope is going to do better than that. There's just no point. There's too much glass. There's too much cost that needs to go into the glass to make it good enough to resolve targets at range. So I would say the optics are decent on it. I would say where they fall down, you do get a little bit of chromatic aberration at distance, which is kind of that blue tinting, or that weird color tinting. The phases of the glass aren't quite correct, and they're like they can cause a little bit of fuzziness, or a little bit of blue tint at distance. So that's one thing that could be improved on it. But the glass, like the clarity, again, at 45 is fine. It's good enough. Compared to something like the Vortex Viper spotting scope, it's not as good, straight up. But again, this is a lot more expensive. I would say that a couple of other nice to haves, specifically on this guy. This has, okay, if you want to, you can throw in your, what is that, 1/2x20 bolt, which is an option. That's your standard camera screw. Or this one has that Arca rail already built into it, so you can just slap it straight onto a camera tripod. Whereas on this one, you have to throw an adapter on there, and it's not the biggest deal in the world. You like a lot of these things will come with an adapter anyways. The adapters will be like 20 bucks, but it's nice to be able to just leave this there. Well, leave it mounted like that, right? The other thing that's quite a bit better on this Vortex than on the Bushnell there is just the focus ring. The focus ring on this one is very large, and it's very easy to slowly move to do precise focusing. The scope caps stay on, even if you've got this whole carrying case in here. And I think, in general, the carrying case on this one is just, it looks like someone actually engineered this rather than just go to some offshore sweatshop and have them stitch up the cheapest, shittiest thing that that could pass as maybe designed for this thing, and doesn't feel very good using it. And because there's like the active bits of Velcro on here, it catches on frickin' everything. There's that one there too. It's got the hook, and this is the hook side. Like the loop side, I don't mind, but the hook side having that loose just seems to catch everything. So would I recommend one of these things? In a word, yeah, I would. Primary reason being the image quality on them is good enough to use as a spotting scope. It's useful enough. It's not going to do your like super extreme long range stuff, but if you're into ELR, you're going to be spending more on everything else anyways. But if you just want to go to the range and you don't have optics that are going to be able to spot your hits at whatever distance you're going, and you need a little bit more magnification, a little bit more clarity, I found this does a really decent job. And with the like phone scope knockoff thing on there, I get some really decent footage of shooting, and I'm able to diagnose what's happening to those long range shots. I find it quite a bit easier. Like I can spot through this thing, but with the benefit of video, it's just easier to see like the splash, to go back in video. Was that left? Was that up or down? I couldn't really see if that was the bullet or if that was the splash. I can do it easier on the phone, so I'd rather just record a lot of video on this thing and see what's happening that way. So really great for that. I'll have an article on this with a lot more information, so if you're into something that's a little bit more in depth, take a look at that. Thanks for watching. Now this is really just scratching the surface of what you can do with this kind of an optic. Really, you can get quite extreme with how you mount it. So let's say you've got a 22, you want to shoot a little bit further, but you found that it's just hard to hit stuff farther. Just mount the Bushnell T-Series on there. So this is now very easy for me to kind of see through for long range. Or if I need short range, I've got a red dot on the side here. Or for really short range, I've got the red dot on the side there, laser, sorry. Which, I mean, if I don't need a laser, I can go flashlight. So got some options there. And then finally, if I'm hunting game or if I need to capture what I'm doing, well, then I can just flip on the camera and take a nice shot with this long 300mm lens. Now you might be saying to yourself, Adriel, that's clearly not what a hot shoe is made for on a camera, but don't let your memes be dreams.